You know the type. Every gathering, every dinner party, every backyard barbecue, there is always that one person who cannot stop running their mouth about how much their house appreciated, how their stock portfolio just hit another all-time high, how they just closed on a second property downtown or picked up a brand new luxury car off the lot last Tuesday. They talk and talk and talk, and everyone nods along, maybe throws out a few impressed whistles, maybe buys them another round. But here is what is fascinating. If you fast forward 5 years, 10 years, sometimes even just 3 years, the person who actually built lasting wealth, the person who retired early or quietly funded their grandchildren's college accounts or bought that lake house without telling a soul, that person was almost never the loud one. It was the quiet one in the corner, smiling softly, asking questions, deflecting attention, never once mentioning a number. That is not a coincidence. That is a pattern so consistent it might as well be a law of physics. And today I am going to explain exactly why it works this way, what is happening inside the brain of the person who cannot stop bragging, and how you can use what psychologists call the stealth wealth strategy to protect everything you have built and everything you are still building. This is not about being modest for the sake of politeness. This is about survival. This is about understanding that in the modern social landscape, your mouth is either your greatest asset or your most dangerous liability, and most people are using it to destroy themselves without even realizing it. Let us start with what is actually happening in the brain when someone brags about money. In psychology, there is a concept called symbolic self-completion theory, originally developed by researchers Robert Wicklund and Peter Gallwitzer. The theory states that when a person feels insecure or incomplete in a particular identity, they will compensate by acquiring and displaying symbols associated with that identity. In plain English, the less secure you actually feel about your financial future, the more desperately you need to talk about it, show it off, flash it around. You are not celebrating success. You are performing it because deep down, some part of you is terrified that it is not real, that it will not last, that without the external validation, the whole thing might collapse. A truly wealthy person, someone whose identity is genuinely anchored in financial security, does not need to perform. They have nothing to prove. The money is there whether anyone knows about it or not. Their sense of self does not depend on your reaction. But the person who is financially fragile, or who deep down suspects their good fortune might be temporary, they need that applause. They need those wide eyes. They need someone to say, "Wow, you are really doing it." Because without that external confirmation, the internal doubt starts screaming. This is why bragging about money is not a sign of confidence. It is a sign of anxiety wearing a very expensive mask. Let me give you a concrete example. Let us call him Mike, a guy in his mid-50s living outside of Dallas. Mike ran a small contracting business that had a really good year. Contracts were flowing in, margins were healthy, and for the first time in his career, he had real money sitting in his account. So Mike shows up to his college reunion looking sharp. His old buddies notice immediately. "Hey Mike, you are looking good, man. Business must be booming." And right there, Mike feels that itch, that little tingle in his chest that says, "Go ahead. Tell them you earned this." So he leans back, tries to play it cool, but cannot help himself. Nothing crazy. Just picked up a new Porsche, closed on a condo in Austin, the usual. His friends erupt. Beers get raised. Someone slaps him on the back. "Mike, you son of a gun, you made it. You are buying tonight." And Mike, riding that wave of admiration, pulls out his card and says, "Damn right I am. Dinner is on me, boys. Let us hit the town." In that moment, Mike's brain is flooded with dopamine. He feels like a king. He feels seen, respected, important. But here is the trap, and it is neurologically vicious. His brain has now registered this social validation as a reward signal. It has essentially told itself, "Mission accomplished, you are successful, people confirmed it." And when your brain believes you have already arrived, It stops doing the difficult, unglamorous work of actually maintaining and growing your wealth. Why would it? You already won. Everyone said so. The applause proved it. So Mike keeps chasing that feeling. Every month, there is another dinner he picks up, another round he buys, another story he tells to keep the legend alive. He starts spending not based on what his business can sustain, but based on what the Mike mythology requires. And slowly, quietly, the cash reserves drain. The emergency fund disappears. The business hits a rough patch, as all businesses eventually do, and Mike has nothing left to absorb the blow. 5 years later, the Porsche is gone, the condo is sold at a loss, and Mike is working for someone else, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. What went wrong is that Mike confused the performance of wealth with the practice of wealth. He traded long-term security for short-term applause, and the applause, as it always does, faded the moment the money did. But the damage of bragging goes far beyond just tricking your own brain. Let us talk about what happens in the brains of the people listening to you. Behavioral economist Daniel Kahneman won a Nobel Prize for demonstrating that human beings are roughly twice as sensitive to losses as they are to gains. This is called loss aversion, and it has a brutal social consequence. When you tell someone about your financial success, you might think they are happy for you. And on the surface, they might smile and congratulate you. But underneath that smile, their brain is running a very different calculation. It is not processing your success as inspiration. It is processing it as a reminder of their own relative failure. Your gain highlights their stagnation. Your new house makes their apartment feel smaller. Your portfolio return makes their savings account feel pathetic. And this triggers what psychologists call the crab mentality, named after the observed behavior of crabs in a bucket, where any crab that tries to climb out gets pulled back down by the others. It is not conscious malice. It is a deep, ancient, survival-driven instinct that says if you are rising and I am not, something is wrong and I need to correct it. This correction can take many forms, and none of them are good for you. Let me illustrate. Consider a woman named Patricia, early 50s, living in suburban Chicago. Patricia had been quietly investing for years and finally hit a milestone. Her portfolio was up significantly, and she was feeling good about her future. So at her monthly book club, she could not resist sharing. She pulled up her brokerage app and showed the group her returns. Oh my God, you guys, I am up almost 50% this year. I think I finally figured this investing thing out. The women around the table gasped and clapped. Patricia felt amazing. But then, not 3 days later, one of the women from that book club called her. Hey Patricia, I am so embarrassed to even ask this, but you know my daughter is getting married next spring and we are a little short on the venue deposit. You are so smart with money. I was wondering if maybe you could lend us just a little something? For you it is probably nothing. Patricia hesitated. Something felt wrong. But how could she say no? She had just demonstrated publicly that she had plenty. Saying no now would make her look selfish, cheap, heartless. So she lent the money. And you already know how this story ends. The money never came back. The friend rationalized it away. Patricia has plenty. She will not even notice it is gone. And if Patricia ever dared to ask for it back, she knew exactly what would happen. Wow, Patricia, you have all that money and you are coming after me for this little amount? I thought you were better than that. This is the tax you pay for bragging. It is invisible, it is social, and it is absolutely merciless. Every time you reveal your financial position, you create an asymmetry of information that other people will inevitably exploit, not necessarily because they are bad people, but because human psychology makes it almost impossible not to. Now let us talk about something even more painful, which is what happens when this dynamic plays out within your own family. This is where the real devastation occurs, because with friends you can eventually distance yourself, but with family, the pressure is inescapable and the guilt is weaponized. Think about a woman named Dorothy, early 60s, retired schoolteacher who had been incredibly disciplined her entire life. She lived below her means for 40 years, invested consistently, and by the time she retired, she had built a portfolio worth well over $1 million plus a rental property generating steady monthly income. Dorothy was proud of this, and understandably so. She had earned every penny through decades of sacrifice. So one Thanksgiving, feeling generous and wanting her children to feel secure, she let it slip. "You kids do not need to worry about me. I have the rental income coming in, my investments are doing well, your mother is taken care of." She meant it as reassurance. But what her adult son heard was opportunity. Within a month, he was at her kitchen table with a business plan. "Mom, I have this incredible idea for a restaurant. The location is perfect, the market is wide open, I just need some startup capital. And I was thinking maybe you could use the rental property as collateral for a loan." Dorothy's stomach dropped. She tried to explain that the rental property was her safety net, her long-term care insurance, her independence. But her son's face fell into that particular expression that every parent dreads. The look of a child who feels rejected by the person who is supposed to believe in them the most. "You care more about a building than your own son's future? You do not think I can do this? You have all this money just sitting there and you would rather watch it collect dust than help your kids succeed?" Dorothy was trapped. If she had never revealed her financial position, this conversation would never have happened. Her son would have found his own funding or abandoned the idea entirely. But because she opened her mouth, because she let the numbers out into the air where they could be heard and remembered and used against her, she was now facing an impossible choice between her financial security and her relationship with her child. This is what I mean when I say your mouth can be your most dangerous liability. The information you share about your money does not disappear. It lives in other people's minds, and it reshapes how they relate to you, what they expect from you, and what they feel entitled to take from you. The anthropologist Robert Cialdini documented what he called the principle of reciprocity, the deep human drive to balance social exchanges. But here is what most people misunderstand about reciprocity. It does not just create gratitude. When the imbalance is too large, when you display wealth that makes others feel small, reciprocity curdles into resentment. People do not feel grateful toward you. They feel diminished by you. And diminished people do not become your allies. They become your quiet adversaries. Consider a man named Richard, a retired corporate executive in his early 60s living in the suburbs of Philadelphia. Richard had done well in his career, and in retirement, he enjoyed being the generous one in his friend group. Every golf outing, every dinner, every fishing trip, Richard grabbed the check. His friends would protest half-heartedly, and Richard would wave them off. "Come on guys, I got it, do not worry about it." And his friends would smile and say, "Richard, you are the best, man. You are a legend." Richard loved hearing that. It made him feel valued, important, necessary. But what Richard did not hear were the conversations that happened in the parking lot after he left. "Did you see him pull out that black card again? Must be nice. I swear he does it just to make us feel like charity cases. He thinks buying dinner makes him better than us." It is honestly kind of insulting. When Richard had a health scare 2 years later and spent 3 weeks in the hospital, not a single one of those friends visited. Not one. Because they had never actually loved Richard. They had loved Richard's open wallet. They had loved the free steaks and the paid greens fees. And the moment those things were no longer available, Richard became irrelevant to them. Worse than irrelevant, actually. He became someone they were relieved to be free of, because his generosity had always carried an unspoken weight, a subtle reminder of their financial inferiority that they resented even as they benefited from it. The smiles people give you when you flash your money are not respect. They are not admiration. They are the polite masks that cover calculation. They are people assessing what they can extract from you while your guard is down, and your guard is always down when you are performing. So what do the truly wealthy do differently? They practice what financial psychologists call stealth wealth. They fly under the radar. They make themselves invisible. They understand that in a world full of people who want what you have, the safest strategy is to make sure nobody knows what you have. There is a billionaire, a real one, who drives a 12-year-old Honda Accord to every meeting. He wears khakis and a plain button-down shirt. No watch, no jewelry, no signals whatsoever. When business associates probe, he deflects masterfully. Oh man, you know how it is, margins are tight these days, we are just trying to keep the lights on and take care of our people. And you know what happens? The person across the table relaxes. They stop seeing him as someone to extract from and start seeing him as someone to collaborate with. They offer better terms. They make concessions. They negotiate more fairly, because they believe they are dealing with someone who needs the deal as much as they do. That is the power of perceived modesty. Looking wealthy costs you money. Looking modest makes you money. Every negotiation you enter, every relationship you maintain, every interaction you have is colored by what people believe about your financial position. And the moment they believe you have more than them, the dynamic shifts against you. They charge you more. They ask you for more. They forgive you less. They resent you quietly. And they leave you the moment you can no longer perform the role they have assigned you. There is a deeper psychological layer here that most people miss entirely. The need to brag about money is fundamentally a need for external validation, and external validation is what psychologists call a bottomless well. You can never fill it. Every hit of admiration you receive from flashing your success wears off within hours, sometimes minutes, and then you need another hit. You need a bigger number, a more impressive purchase, a louder reaction. It is exactly like an addiction, and it operates on the same neurological pathways. The dopamine spike from social validation creates tolerance over time, meaning you need increasingly dramatic displays to achieve the same emotional payoff. This is why people who start by mentioning their stock gains end up buying bottle service at clubs and leasing cars they cannot afford and renovating kitchens that did not need renovating. They are not spending for utility. They are spending for reaction. And that reaction is a drug that will eat through your net worth faster than any market crash ever could. Carl Jung wrote extensively about what he called the shadow self, the parts of our identity that we hide from the world and even from ourselves. Jung argued that the more elaborately we construct our public persona, the larger and more dangerous our shadow becomes. Applied to money, this means that the more aggressively you project an image of financial success, the more you are compensating for an inner experience of financial terror. The bragging is not confidence. It is a scream dressed up in a designer suit. And until you address the underlying insecurity, no amount of external validation will ever make you feel truly safe. So here is what this all comes down to, distilled into its purest form. Bragging about money triggers a false sense of completion in your brain, which causes you to stop doing the difficult work that actually builds wealth. Bragging about money activates loss aversion and crab mentality in the people around you, turning potential allies into covert adversaries who will drain your resources through social pressure, guilt, and manipulation. Bragging about money creates information asymmetry that makes you vulnerable in every negotiation, every family conversation, and every friendship you have. And bragging about money feeds an addictive cycle of external validation that will consume your resources at an accelerating rate until there is nothing left to validate. The antidote is silence. Strategic, intentional, powerful silence. The kind of silence that is not passive but active. Not weak but disciplined. Not shy but supremely confident. Because only someone who truly knows their own worth can resist the temptation to prove it. The wealthiest, wisest, most psychologically sophisticated people you will ever meet are the ones who make you feel like they are just like you. They ask about your life. They listen to your problems. They never redirect the conversation back to themselves. They pick up the check occasionally but never make a show of it. They drive reasonable cars and wear unremarkable clothes and live in neighborhoods that do not scream money. And behind that perfectly ordinary facade, they are compounding their wealth in silence, untouched by the social taxes that destroy everyone who cannot keep their mouth shut. If you are someone who has been tempted to share your financial wins, if you have felt that itch to let people know how well you are doing, I want you to understand that the impulse is completely human and completely natural. There is nothing wrong with you for feeling it. But I also want you to understand that acting on that impulse is one of the most expensive decisions you can make. Every word you speak about your money is a withdrawal from your future security. Every number you share is a target you paint on your own back. Every boast you make is an invitation for the world to take from you. So the next time you feel that urge rising in your chest, that desperate desire to be seen and acknowledged and admired, I want you to take a breath and swallow it. Let the moment pass. Ask the other person a question instead. Let them talk. Let them feel heard. And take quiet satisfaction in knowing that your silence is not weakness. Your silence is the most sophisticated wealth-building strategy that exists. You do not need anyone's approval to be successful. You do not need anyone's admiration to be secure. You do not need to perform your value for it to be real. Close your wallet, keep your mouth still, and let your wealth grow in the dark, where no one can see it, no one can touch it, and no one can take it from you. You have worked too hard and come too far to let a moment of vanity unravel everything you have built. Stay quiet, stay humble, stay rich,